Two pivotal government programs for senior citizens are now in critical danger. Both Social Security and Medicare are running out of money. The lifeline is not good. And all the Biden administration does is want to blame the Republicans and do nothing about it. We have to talk about it. For more, I'm joined by the Dean of Robert W. Plaster School of Business and Professor of Economics, Dr. Jeff Haymond. Also with us is Research Fellow for the Heritage Foundation and Public Finance Economist, E.J. Antoni. E.J., let's start with you. It's not looking good. In about 10 years, Social Security payments will be cut by 21%. Medicare won't be able to pay any of its debts. How did it get to this point, and can these programs be saved?
Well, Lydia, it got to this point simply because these programs were set up as Ponzi schemes. You know, if we applied the same standard of justice to FDR and the Democrats in the 1930s that we have applied to Sam Bankman-Fried with FTX, then all of the former would be thrown in jail just like the latter was, because they set up programs which simply cannot last in the long run. There is no way to maintain solvency here. And just to illustrate that point, even if Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren and the other socialists in Congress got their way and we confiscated billionaires' wealth today in order to try to fund these programs, all you would do is push off the date of insolvency. You wouldn't actually solve the structural problem of these programs.
You know, Doctor, I want to show people at home how this mess could have actually been avoided. There are a ton of variables at play, but instead of putting money into Social Security, if that same money went into an S&P 500 fund, a person could have over $2 million. Your office helped with these numbers, right? So in your mind, is Social Security just a scam? Or, I mean, is it just terribly structured? Is there some hope for people out there?
Well, let me put some cheer on this otherwise gloomy message. He's absolutely right that the way the program is set up, it's doomed to meet its promises. But when we talk about this running out of money, what we're talking about is the trust fund. As long as there are new people coming in at some level, there's some amount of money, but that's a terrible way to run a retirement program because you're dependent upon the number of new workers coming in continue to pay. And as we've had the fertility rate drop, and we've had people living longer, that's led us up to where people are going to be in for a rude awakening where what they might hope to have achieved, they would not achieve in the future. So, yes, those numbers, it would be much better to have more of our savings in the private sector rather than the government sector. But I don't think it's a case that we'll have none. It's just going to be much less because of what they've done with the money that they've taken from us.
And E.J., President Trump, he's taken a very clear stance on Medicare, and he says that Social Security as well needs to be protected. Let's take a listen.
Cut the left-wing gender programs from our military. Cut the billions being spent on climate extremism. Cut waste, fraud, and abuse everywhere that we can find it, and there's plenty of it. But do not cut the benefits our seniors worked for and paid for their entire lives.
You know, you would think that would be a given, and we're giving out we're paying billions and billions of taxpayer dollars for all these illegal aliens. When we're talking about our senior citizens, they're getting, you know, the short end of the stick. So what do you think, EJ? Are Americans just, you know, kind of wake up and they're tired of this? I mean, they work so hard all their lives and they get shortchanged on their Medicare, their Social Security, and even when it comes to health insurance.
Right, Lydia, I think the former president really is taking the right tack here. And I don't mean politically, I just mean financially. You can't pull the rug out from under people who have a plan to be on this program or already are on this program. In other words, you can't cut benefits for current retirees or those who are about to retire. But for younger generations, they have plenty of time to save, and they have plenty of warning, essentially, to be told, look, these programs are just not viable, and they're not going to be there when you plan to retire. And so you need to use plenty of private sector vehicles in order to save and invest and have some kind of nest egg for yourself.
We have about a minute left. Speaking of the private sector, Dr. Susie Orman, you know, finance guru, she says it's a smart move to put a lot of your money into a Roth IRA. What do you think about that? Is that true?
Absolutely it is. And the good news is even though the public sector contributions towards our retirement through Social Security, Medicare, et cetera, are abysmally run, In the private sector, we're putting a lot of our own money back into it. So Roths and 401ks, et cetera, the households in general are saving more because I think they know that they can't trust the government over the long term. And whatever solution we come up with, I think it needs to restrict the amount of government involvement, because everywhere you look, even across the globe, where the government's involved with the retirement programs, they're almost always typically underfunded.
All right, gentlemen, we have to leave it right there. Thank you guys so much for joining us.